Hello and welcome to the Raw Makers podcast.
A one-stop shop for courage, confidence and mindset building.
Also bringing you all the aspects of mental health awareness, business and entrepreneurship. We are your hosts,
Adam Ellis
and Jason Borman of the Raw Makers Coaching. Today, guys, we've got a very powerful guest, extremely calm and nice person that we've met on our journey as becoming coaches. She's now recently launched a coaching business herself. She's an NLP master. She's a mixed martial artist and cage fighter. She specializes in trauma-induced anxiety and works with CPTSD and trauma survivors. And yeah, we're excited to get her out. But without further ado, here's Kharina.
Hey everyone, thanks Jason for the intro. Hi Adam, how are we all doing?
Yeah, we're all good. Thank you for joining us this evening.
You're very welcome. It's a pleasure to be here actually. I've watched your other stuff, and if anyone's not watched it, they need to jump on and watch it, start following you guys, subscribe, make it happen.
And that's cool. And there's a lot of value to be had if people do that as well.
Absolutely.
So
can you tell I'm an empowerment life coach from the way I came on? Is it obvious? Yes.
That's it. So that was a short intro. I know you've got lots more to say on what you do and what's brought you to here. So if we can just have like a little bit of a elaborated story from your point of view and what you want to put in there and how you feel you can bring your vibes to this podcast.
Sounds good. Thank you, Jason. So what I'm going to do is just take your audience on a little bit of a journey, so they understand my story a little bit, and which helped me to derive to where I am now as an empowerment life coach that specializes in trauma-induced anxiety. And I'll just touch down on what exactly is that, but the story will make that caption make sense as well at the same time. So let me take you back to little Kharina, who was born like in the 70s, rock and roll, or towards the end, Elvis died. And so by the age of 3 days old, I was put into a children's home by the age of 3 days old, okay? And the reason why I was put into the children's home was for my safety, because there was physical abuse that was happening, and they were becoming very concerned about my health and just concerned about me. Around that time, because I was 3 days old, I've got a brother who will come later in the story, but he's 2 years younger than me, okay? So born and bred in Hackney, East London, any of you guys know it. If you're not part of the UK, it was in those days a proper rough area in the UK. Most people didn't really have a lot of money, and now it's very different. Gives you a different vibe, a different lifestyle there now. So what happened was my parents did not quite get on. You know, I was born quite quickly from when they got together, so they probably didn't understand how to look after a child. That's what I kind of started to install in myself, and that's what it came down onto. My biological mum had like, it wasn't uncovered properly, but she had mental illness, okay, but it wasn't really, it hadn't shown up properly. So I was in and out of care because of that reason, because of the physical abuse. Day 13, I was taken back into the children's home with bruising on my face. I obviously had been beaten up. I don't know how you can beat a child up like that. And that obviously, you know, reading that after, when I got my report and stuff, it actually affected me. But let's move forward from that. So I was basically, by the age of 3, I was put into the children's home properly, like for a proper duration. So my brother had just been born. But sadly, the authorities did not do what they said they'd do, and my innocence was taken. Okay, I'll phrase it like that to keep it the level calm. Okay, and that really affected me as a child. You know, that's still growing. That's only 3 years old. I had no one to talk to. There was no one there that I could actually speak to, and I had no voice. That's quite important, the no voice thing, okay? Mental illness got worse on my biological mum's side. Again, it was still not really uncovered properly, and a lot of the signs were missed. By the age of 6, I was then around 6 years old, I was adopted. So my brother and I were adopted into a family, and the culture is a Guyanese West Indian kind of, they say West Indian, actually South American, but that's how they class themselves, household. So really strong accent, didn't have a clue what our mum and dad were saying, but I couldn't believe it, but I actually had a mum. I couldn't believe that something like that could happen to me, and I was finally going to have the life that I deserved. Like, as a kid, you watch Disney stuff, you know, you watch cartoons, like even Tom and Jerry and stuff like that, you just think, yeah, this, you know, life's fun, there's great stuff that's going to happen. But that was about to go terribly wrong. So I was still being allowed to see my biological mum. My brother wasn't that bothered because he was younger, he wasn't bothered, but when you're a little girl, you kind of want to see your mum, even though you got another mum. And at the time, she'd given birth to another child, which was my other little brother. And his name's Yusuf. And I was allowed to go and see him. I'm not sure why they allowed me. I'm not sure why they didn't, you know, keep an eye on what was going on with her and the new partner she had and so forth. Sadly, her mental illness went out of control and she took my brother's life. He was 9 months old at the time. And yeah, the shock of that, like literally, at that time, I was like 7 years old, it completely broke my heart, and I'm 7. But at that time, I also realized that I did have a mum, and I didn't quite understand that this brother was not going to come back. So I lived in a state where I thought he was alive, and I made that a reality. Okay, so because I made it a reality, although I missed him, it felt like he was with me, but it meant I wasn't living in the real world. So as I transitioned and got older, it felt like he was still there. I created something that wasn't real, but what happened was that actually ended up protecting me. By the age of 11, I was in a lot of pain, tummy pain. I started becoming very unwell, and I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And by the age of 14, I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Okay, so I do have Crohn's disease. So Crohn's disease is you know, one of the key things that causes it is inflammatory bowel disease. Okay, so inflammation is caused in the body when there's stress in the body, whatever type of stress. It could be trauma, as in physical trauma, mental trauma. I had that, and I was 14. So I'm going to move forward a little bit now. So by the age of 23, I had my bowel removed, and I remember like being in the hospital post-operation, being very, 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 very unwell, and just thinking to myself, looking down, obviously you've got loads of padding from the dressings and stuff, and thinking, I was so sad, and I was thinking to myself, how the hell am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? And I remember that just going through my head. And it took me like a year to look in the mirror. I couldn't even look at myself. And I remember looking in the mirror for the first time and feeling completely heartbroken. And I just was so, I became very depressed. So that depression was something that was going to continue for a very long time, but I hid it very well. Okay, so even though that was the case, even though that was the shit that was happening, sorry about the language at the time, I had this fire, this thing inside me where I was determined to be someone. Okay, but the pinnacle person in my story was my mum, because I was at the table one time at the kitchen table, and I wasn't able to get down the stairs, but she would always come and get me. But she said to me, I'm not going to get you for breakfast, you need to come down yourself. I was so angry. I'm thinking, what the hell? Like, she knows I've just had an operation. She knows like the life I've been through. All that stuff came to me. I was like, why is she doing this to me? That's the stuff. But I was very respectful to my mum. Anyway, I tried to make it to the stairs, and then she came and helped me down and got to the table. I burst into tears, and I couldn't stop crying. And she kind of came to my level and said, on my hand, looking straight in my eyes, and she was like, girl, I'll do the accent. She's like, girl, you can be like this. Okay, your mother was like this, like as in my biological mother was like that, as in depression. But you don't want to be like that woman. Okay, so referring to a woman is like normal in the culture. She's like, you can stay like this, or you can make a choice to change, to do something. I didn't become your mother for, can't do the accent when I talk about it. I didn't become your mother for you not to be someone. I became your mother so that you can have a chance in life and you can have a life. So you make that decision. And we both cried, and that was the day I made the decision that I was going to be a personal trainer of all things. So yeah, that's when, like, that was the fire that kept inside me. So done personal training, really got, you know, that was my passion thing. But then I realized I had like a knack for coaching. I was thinking, actually, I could do more than this. Moved to Brighton. This was 2012, moved to Brighton. From London to Brighton. Brighton, UK is on the coastline. If you don't know the UK, it's at the bottom of England. And this job opportunity came up to work with a Fortune 500 company. And I was thinking, that's never going to happen to me. But I went for it anyway. Very nervous, went for it. And I just thought to myself, I can do this. I got the job. Okay. And then I started to move up, and my coaching started getting recognized, and I started becoming the voiceover for the adverts and stuff like that. And I was like thinking, bloody hell, the money was coming. I was like, I can't believe this. Bought a house and stuff. I was like, this is unbelievable. But I had really severe depression and anxiety. And what was happening, although things were going great for me, I was having an issue with speaking, which you can notice that I don't have that now. Okay. Sometimes it comes up. If you hear me cough, that's the speech thing that comes up. And I thought to myself, even though I was successful, and even though I said all the stuff I just said to you guys, inside, I still felt like I wasn't doing enough and I wasn't making it. I still didn't feel like I'd made it. And it didn't make sense to me, and it was very frustrating. And as soon as I'd finish work, I'd go home and I'd just be in my bed, completely depressed, memories going through my head, flashbacks. This is a lifetime of this that I struggled with. And constant state of anxiety where I'd say, no, I don't want to. I said no to a lot of friends, like going out, meeting up, or work dues and stuff like that. Or if I did go, I had to make sure I was really drunk or just to get through the door. But then I couldn't speak even more because I was intoxicated. So it was like, it just, nothing was working. There was a key leader that worked with me, and he recognized what was happening. And he really took his time with me. And he was to be one of the biggest influences for me in my coaching career, because I realized actually you don't need to make a scene about someone's hindrance, but what you can do is support them in a way that actually allows them to feel the courage and the confidence, and lets them step into what they need to, into their own light, in a way that they need to do it. Okay, so that seems like it resonates with you, Jason. So he's got, go ahead, God.
No, 100%.
Yeah.
There's elements of that were like very, very powerful. I just want to commend you for sharing that and being so open and honest.
Thank you.
And what a brave lady you are.
Thank you. That means a lot. It's it actually does mean a lot. And my story, my life is not easy to talk about. Okay, it's not easy to talk about because it's very real. It sounds like, how the hell can someone go through all of that? But it's actually true, and it's actually real. That's what makes it hard. And that's why I knew that actually when I was made redundant, this is where the coaching journey came in, but in a different way. I was already coaching with leadership and so forth, but it was in a different way. I was made redundant September last year. Okay, we're January this year. And I couldn't have been in a worse state than I was. Okay. And I got meningitis. Basically, I sold my house, which meant I had to disconnect from that person I was with at the time. I got meningitis, and then I bloody lost my job. And I was thinking, I'm screwed. Like, and then my other half, who I'm with, and my brother was like, what do you really want to do? And I was like, I just want to coach. That was my passion. And they were like, why don't you just do it? So I did. A year before that, I'd started a journey, a trauma a trauma journey to release the trauma from me. And I was doing EMDR, which is a very specific type of therapy treatment that really releases the trauma in a way that it helps change the brain. When I was doing that, combined with what I'd already studied, like REBT, like rational emotive therapy, for example, emotional intelligence, NLP, these are some of the stuff that I studied. PTSD, counseling, but I wanted to be a coach, not a counselor or a therapist. The journey was making more sense, and that picture was becoming clear of what I need to do and what I need to do to help support other people in a way that changes their mind or their mindset, in a way that enables them to feel empowered and have the courage and the confidence to stand up and be who they are, but also to have a voice, to be heard in whatever way that means. That could just mean talking on the phone to a parent and actually saying, actually, I don't really like what you said, that made me feel really uncomfortable. The story I'm telling myself is this, and I don't know if that's what you meant by it. Do you understand? There's little things like that. Or going into an interview and being able to calm their nervous system so they can deliver it and get that bloody job that they want to get, because they deserve it. They deserve to be there. They deserve to be in that position. It was little things like that. And so when I went on the coaching journey, which is where I met you guys, I thought to myself, okay, the reason why I went on that coaching journey was for a particular qualification that could bring all my stuff together and give me more credibility. That's why I done it. But then I thought, actually, there's no point studying and not having an outcome. I might as well launch a business. And that's why I've done another course to enable myself to launch a business, which I then done successfully. So that's where Kharina Kharran Empowerment Life Coaching came from. And that's the story that brought me to where I am now, and having the pleasure to speak to you guys on your YouTube channel.
That's amazing. Like, you're the type of person we want to get to interview, because, you know, to hear that very powerful story and to bring that to our viewers and listeners and anyone that could take any ounce of like power from that. Yeah, we want to just put people in front of an audience and just let them shine, basically. That's what
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely. Thank you. Thanks, Jason.
yeah. Parts of your story are very moving, like, you know, you've been through a lot, and yeah.
I've probably thrown you with what to say next, haven't I?
I'm just so glad that you're here, that you're doing coaching, and that you're helping other people with like this very much needed kind of work, basically.
Yeah, no, definitely. So shall I tell you what it is I do?
Yeah.
Yeah, shall I explain? So let me explain. So what does it mean to remove trauma-induced anxiety for good? So if I put this image in your heads, okay? So you have a huge puzzle, okay? And you know the picture of the puzzle is supposed to look how it shows you on the box, but all the pieces are upside down. That's what's happening in the brain when you've got the anxiety, okay? That's what's happening in the brain when you have anxiety and it's trauma-induced. So what do I mean by trauma-induced? That means someone can say something to you and it's not a big deal whatsoever. Like, for example, oh my God, that so doesn't match if you're wearing clothes, whatever. But that thing attaches to something else, that connects to something else that made you feel shit when you were younger. Okay, sorry about language. So it made you feel like that when you was younger. Now, the person in front of you is not going to know that that's the thing. You suddenly go into yourself and you suddenly start feeling like actually you don't want to go out anymore, like you don't have enough clothes. Then you look at your hair and you start finding stuff that matches that theory, okay? And I know you guys touch on mindset, and this is where the mindset thing comes on, although sometimes I call it something else, okay? But let's go back to that picture of that puzzle, that all the scrambled pieces, okay? Some pieces are the right way up and some pieces are the wrong way down, right? Or right way down, whatever. And you're looking at it and you're thinking, okay, there's some bits, you know, that goes there, and you start doing the edges. A lot of people start doing the edges or bits that you can see, right? So that's a normal way how the brain should work, okay? So the pathway, so we think of the pathways or the bits that the puzzle sticks together. That's a normal thing, okay? I'll take it back. So you're a child, you're crying, and the parent comes and soothes that cry for you. Okay, you can't speak because you're a child. If you're an adult and you're in pain, you will cry. You'll be like, damn, that really hurt. Say you're playing football, you got kicked in the shin, that really hurt. But you can't do that as a baby. So the parents are pinnacle to the growth of the child. When I say parents, it could be guardian in any state or form. It could be a grandparent. Sometimes different families have different setups. Now, if you've got a child that's crying and they're not getting attention, or if they're crying and something's taken away, so they're meant to be fed, but they're not fed, that food's taken away, and the adult becomes the trauma for that child. Okay, so trauma is not, this is from Gabor Mate, like he's a famous dog. Trauma is not what happened to you, it's what's happened inside you because of what happened to you. Okay,
like a scar.
Yeah, exactly. So
Stains
go on, I'll let you
your
finish.
kind of being. It stains your being, and it's like there until it's and it's like constantly highlighting itself to you, like, or
Exactly,
it can be triggered.
exactly. So, and that's what happened to me as a child, right? There was not, I didn't have that soothing thing. So what happens to a child? I'm going to go back to the puzzle in a minute. That child adapts, okay? They start going silent. But because they go silent, it means that they're not getting the things, that the basic needs that they need as a child. That child starts growing up and they go into a children's home, okay? And then that authority damages that child in some way. Either doesn't feed them properly, abuse happens, we hear it happening all the time. It makes me very angry when I still hear it to this day. All types of abuse happen and they're silenced again. They don't say anything, okay? So if you think of that, what's the likely outcome of that individual, even at that, without being adopted? It's very likely they're probably going to have a life of addiction. They're probably going to have a life that's not the story that I'm telling and so many other people have managed to tell, thank God. But then they're adopted and then this thing happens again. It's another trauma. But because they're adopted, they're in a family, they can't show that they're not grateful. So they don't get to talk about the loss. So it stays with them. This is happening to children of war. This is happening all over the world for different reasons. We've got to open up our scope. And when we look at trauma, it's more than just one thing. Okay, so we go back. So that's an example of the traumatic brain. Okay, we go back to the puzzle. So what's happening is you've got those pieces, you know, they fit in, some bits are done. And if you scramble those pieces up that you put together, you'll always be able to put those things back together, the bits you started with. When I'm doing the coaching with my clients, what I do is I ensure that I create a different pathway where they can start completing the puzzle and the bits in front of them make sense, okay? So we cancel out the original pathway, I change that pathway and I'll create a different pathway. This is in the brain, okay? And it's installed in the brain in a way with different techniques that when they think about, and the picture becomes clearer, but what happens, there's no emotion attached to it. So they finish the picture, which is the journey at the end of the journey. And for example, if someone brought up my brother and his death, it's like, I don't have that thing I had before where I'd just be shut down and I'll just like go into my room. Literally, I'd go under the covers, put the covers over my head and pretend it's a 10. But I used to do that when I was a kid. I used to do that when I was a little kid in a children's home. But I'd done that as an adult when I was struggling, right? So I changed that pathway. And what I do is we reinstall the belief that's real and how it should have been or could have been and what that person wants to see, okay? So for example, with my brother, obviously I had to create a detachment, which was very hard. But what I'd done was I created him. He became like the hero of my journey. So I imagined him giving me his cape, his superhero cape, and putting it around me, and I tied it on, and I became the person he wanted me to be because I was basically living his life. I wasn't living my life. Okay, that's an example of myself. Okay, so now when I think of my brother, I think of good stuff. I think of the good memories. I think of like stuff with him playing, laughing. I can hear that it's good stuff. Whereas before it was horrible, horrible stuff. Yeah. So with my clients, that's exactly what I do. So we talk about changing mindsets. We can change mindset. What I do is a little bit different because I'm actually working with the science of the brain in a slightly different way? But am I working with mindset? Yes, but it's a slightly different way, because if it's trauma induced, it means we have to really find the little bits of the trauma, the roots of it, put it into a picture, and then reframe that picture, basically. Yeah.
So can I ask, like, on all the sort of techniques that you know to help people with trauma, so I would use timeline therapy and dissecting a memory and eye integration. So where do they, and they're all kind of from NLP, because that's the type of coaching that I've learned and what I implement with.
Yeah.
So where do they kind of rank, do you think, in terms of effectiveness with other stuff that you've kind of learned?
Okay, that's a really, really good question. And the thing is, everything's extremely effective depending on the person that's in front of you, because we have to be adaptable with the client. Okay, we have to be amendable. We have to be adaptable and understand how to switch between different techniques while we're in the coaching mode. And that's what makes you a great coach. Okay, and the client will know, or the individual will know, that this person, they won't know you're a great coach. They will know that this person has got something different. They've got something that I need, and I need it, and I need it from them. That's basically what happens. And that's such a beautiful thing, because if you know you've got that, I'm going to come back to your question, but if you know you've got that ability, that means you can help change lives, but they're the one taking the action to change their lives, but you're guiding them. And that's a beautiful thing, you know? So I'll bring it back to what you just asked me. So every different technique has its place. Okay, everything has its place. So I combine the stuff that you just mentioned. I include it with, when you do PTSD studying, the history taking is very important. But what I do, which combines it with the EMDR, which is what I'll be qualified in soon, but I'm using their techniques because I understand the techniques and it bloody works. But what I do is I capture the key memories that are stemming from the trauma. Okay, and the more the person talks, because I've done conversational coaching when I was in the leadership thing, I understand people's expression and language. I'm able to coach just off that, even if they don't give me history, because I can understand where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. That takes practice, right? It takes practice. So everything has its place. For me, I feel the EMDR stuff that I'm going to be doing, I feel like that is the most effective. Why do I think that? Because it's what I've been through on my therapy. My ACE scores, my adverse childhood experience score, is 9 out of 10. Okay, so for me to say it's only this, it's not one therapy, because my therapist had to switch between stuff that you just mentioned to make my brain work in a different way. So it depends on the person. It depends on their fear at that moment in time. It depends on their support system. You know, when you go into coaching, if you, and this can be coaching or therapy, but we're coaches, but no matter what you're going in, even if you're doing a sports for the first time, you need a community. Okay, you guys have got a community, I've got a community. You need to have professionals, people that are qualified, but also people that understand your experience, which you guys do for your community, which I have for my community, right? But then you need to take stuff to the next level. Okay, you need to think, okay, what's current and out there at the moment? Do I need to study it? How do I integrate that into my coaching system? You need to always be one step ahead. You need to understand what writers are out there, what doctors are out there, depending on what you're doing. Yeah. So if you're doing mindset, for example, you want to know, okay, who are the top mindset coaches out there? Writers, what are they talking about? Yeah, because that's the subject areas you then need to look at. So someone that's going to pick a coach, whether it's for trauma, whether it's for mindset and courage, or all the other stuff that you guys are doing, they're going to research the crap out of everything first, right? Because they want to know, actually, this person's going to make a difference in my life. So I know if someone researches me, I feel very comfortable and confident I can answer any question they got, and I know I can make a difference. At the same time, if I feel that that person needs therapy and I'm not the right person, I will have that conversation with them, and I'll say to them, but if you need me after the therapy, you come to me and I will empower the crap out of you. So yeah, it's just, you've got to adapt to that individual. And I'm so lucky, the people I'm working with at the moment, incredible people, different roles, some are coaches, and all of their stories are different. All their fear levels are different. They have different levels of courage, different levels of confidence, but the trauma is creating anxiety and it's stopping things like their speech. It's
And
making them feel
there's
not.
not a person alive that doesn't go through some form of trauma that they kind of hold on to, that they attach to. And, you know, obviously some are way more severe than others. Like,
Yeah.
obviously, when you're sat in front of someone, you're looking for little bits of trauma that you can help to heal so that they can move forward. And
Yeah, so I'd
things
say,
that they're attaching to, that in their beliefs, in their, you know, what they felt was available for them, like, you know, all sorts of stuff comes out in sessions with clients and stuff. And
yeah, no, definitely, I definitely agree. I think I always, like, you know, you said looking for the stuff. So everyone coaches in a different way. What I always do is let them talk. You probably do this well. Let them talk. Okay. And how does this relate to the original question? Why are you here? What's brought you here to me right now? What is it? So I always draw them back to actually why they're here, because everyone can go off a tangent. But when someone is talking, this is something when I've done conversational coaching, if someone talks to you, okay, a random person talks to you and they offer you information, you have to acknowledge that information. You have to acknowledge it. And I think that, not from our recent coaching community, from when I've done coaching before I started this journey, I make that very clear. That's the piece that was missing. People were saying stuff and it was not being touched on. That makes an individual feel worse. You know, it doesn't matter what you do for them coaching wise, they're going to still walk away and yeah, they're just going to feel crap, you know? So what you guys do, because I've seen your stuff, and what I do, and I've loads of other people that we know in our coaching community, which these people are going to be guests on your show. So your audience needs to keep watching, right? So, you know, that's the kind of stuff. It's like everything matters, nothing is trivial, and everyone has the ability to rewire the brain in a way that allows them to step into their confidence, their self-control, and their inner freedom. And whatever pillars that you guys have that represents your business, and any other coach, everyone's got that possibility to do that. What needs to happen is they need to make a decision to do it. That's the only thing they need to do, because we coaches around the world, us here now, we are those people that can enable that. Okay. And it's all down to, you know, our personal journey, our qualifications, not qualifications, but actually using that in a way that works. So everything comes together, we're all connected at the end of the day, right? So I think we need to have a little sound thing that does a lion's roar after, like, yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, so Adam, have you got a question for Kharina?
You got to have one, Adam. I'm expecting questions from you. I am.
Oh,
You always
pressure.
have questions.
The pressure's on. Right, so when you have the shit days, how do you get yourself out of that? What do you tell yourself? What do you do?
Okay. The first thing I do is I allow myself to feel what I'm feeling. Okay. I don't stop it. I don't do something straight away. I allow myself to feel how I feel. And then I allow myself to be emotional, because I've never done that before. Actually cry if I need to cry, because before I just got up and carried on. That's the first thing. Another thing, it's not in order, but another thing is reaching out. Okay. So I've got a little system where it's, you know, if we're not okay, we send a purple heart to our friend. Okay. And we all know that actually that purple heart means I'm not okay. I'm in a state where I don't really want to talk, but I want to reach out, and I just want you to know that I'm not okay in this moment in time. Okay. It's an emoji. It's easy to do. Okay. That's the other thing. It depends on the level. If I'm really bad, that's what I do. And then someone will call or check in with me. Now, I know techniques, because of the stuff that I've done, that will actually calm my nervous system. And I do those techniques to calm myself and not try and fix the problem. All I need to do is calm myself, keep myself present. I've got a habit of just looking at my hand, and it's like, I'm here, I'm present, I'm here right now. It's the easiest, quickest thing I can do. and then I get up. Go ahead, Jason.
I was going to say, I like that analogy, yeah, that idea of the hand. That's really
Yeah,
good.
you just look at something. So, because if I'm, sometimes it happens when I'm walking out, you know, it might be out the house and then might be triggered, and I'll just suddenly feel this like dark cloud come over me. And I'm just like, it's okay, you're fine, everything's fine, you're not in danger right now. I'm so wired to prepare for danger that, you know,
And
I don't need
that must stem from your emotional intelligence training, right, as well. Like,
so that's a huge part of it. That's a huge part of it. Yeah.
learning to kind of process externally, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, not
So
internally, like taking it
look
out.
inward on
Yeah.
what's going on, if you know what I mean, and analyze how you are in yourself right in this moment, and notice what you notice, feel what you feel. That's why I love when you said, I just feel.
Yeah, it's so important. I've sorry, go ahead, say that again.
I was going to say, you don't try and stop it, you don't suppress it, you don't want to kind of further harm yourself or create trauma, right? So it's kind of just to notice what you notice and know that it's okay to feel any emotion in any moment that you need to feel.
Absolutely, that's such an important thing, and I've looked at a lot of stuff on some of your journey, Jason, as well, and I've seen that involvement. I've seen you evolve. I don't know how to use the word. I don't know you, but I've seen that happen, and it's such a great thing. But I'm conscious of the time. We need to. What's important? We don't need to do anything. What's important is take your time and recognize. There's a lot of stuff out there. When you wake up, you have to do this. You have to do it. No, you don't have to do any of that. You have to do what's right for you. But knowing these techniques and these things that you can do, they all have their place. Exercising, meditation, everything has its place, but you don't have to follow someone else's rules. But what's important is you have those things in place. So if you need those tools, those techniques, you use them, okay? You keep calm, you keep centered, because you're freaking amazing. That's what I always say to us. I'm like, you're amazing. Like, look where you are. Everything's fine. There is no danger right now. And I'll do the calming techniques. I do a body scan. So your audience, you need to release that to the audience at some point, where you take your time, you close your eyes and you think, okay, I've got this digital scan like I'm a robot. It's going to start from the top of my head and it gradually goes down. Do I feel anything in my head? Is there anything uncomfortable? Actually, my brain's hurting. Okay, let's look at that. Is there a shape or color to that? Yeah, it's a dark cloud. Okay, what do you want it to be? Bloody rainbow. Okay, let's shift that. Just take your time. Let's imagine that releasing upwards and outwards and out of you. Okay, let's go back down to, do you know what I mean? So the body scan is really important. Anyone can do that. I think that's a great thing for kids to have. I think something like that is great for kids to have. So if there's any parents out there, maybe try it. But
it's
maybe you guys can release.
And you know, it's very visual and it's an easy process for them to understand, right?
Exactly. And they're less like, you know, kids are less likely to want to engage in bullying and want to engage in this horrible stuff, you know, just to make themselves feel a bit better, because that's what everyone else is telling. Actually, you're in control of you. You're the master of your universe, right? Kids, you know, it's a different language that you need to use, but we bring it back to the adults. So if you guys can put something on, you know, that explains the body scan, that'd be amazing, because I think your audience, that'd be great for what you guys do. It's amazing. So it's little things like that. So hopefully I've answered your question, Adam. So yeah, it's just a matter of take my time, feel what I'm feeling, reach out. You're not alone. There's a community of people out there. Just reach out to a friend. I'm not okay. It's okay to say you're not okay. You know, don't have to worry about it. The last thing I would want is to hear that someone's done A, B, or C to themselves because they couldn't reach out, which was something that I done. And I saw that this despair on my friends' faces, and I was just thought, damn, like all I needed to do was reach out, but I couldn't. Actually, you can. I can now. We all can. It's just send an emoji, unhappy face. People will be like, are you all right? What's happened? Like, that will make you laugh and change the energy straight away. You know, get up and move. Do go to a different room. Get ice cream in the morning. Like, just do something different. No, it's your life. You do what you want. Yeah, I'm a bit naughty like that, but yeah.
No, I love it. And yeah, I would say change your physiology. Like, that's the easiest thing to change in the triangle. You know, you've got your thoughts, you know, images that are creating the thoughts, you know, and physiology, all of that affects your state and how you're being in any one moment.
Yeah.
So the easiest
Definitely.
thing to change is, you can't feel depressed when you're doing star jumps. Like, you can't feel depressed when you're, running as fast as you can from one side of your house to the other. Like,
Yeah.
Just to change your physiology, like, or notice how you're sitting and how you're, when you're in that kind of, unhappy
Yeah.
place,
Yeah.
just notice how your body is and alter it, and
Exactly.
see what
Exactly.
that does immediately for your mental state.
Exactly, because basically everything you said there, the certain chemicals are released in the brain when certain things are happening in the brain. Okay, when you get up and move, which you refer to as change your physiology, it changes the chemical. Okay, and that's why I'm so interested, and that's why I work with stuff to do with the brain, because I understand that stuff and it makes sense to me. But that's because I'm super logical, which my therapist is trying to like knock out of me, like, use your heart, don't be logical. I like being logical. But yeah, it's that stuff. It's just about changing, no one ever needs to feel they're not enough, like they're so shit, all this negative stuff. We do feel it because we're human beings, but the reason why we can change it and why we don't need to feel is because with there's logic behind the chemicals in the brain. So if you get up and do a jog, yeah, or if you just like look in the mirror and say I'm amazing and just be silly, it will make you laugh and it will change your physiology. Yes, you might still feel depressed, and yet that's okay. But then you do the next step of talking to someone, reaching out to a community, join your community, join my community. Do you know what I mean? It's like you just do something because you're not alone. That's the important message.
Yeah.
My motto is I make me stronger. I make me stronger. That's my motto, because every day I make me stronger. And I say that to everyone. I don't even know where that came from, but it's everywhere on my Facebook stuff.
I love that. I love that. I'm really behind that movement as well. It's like, you have the power of choice, right? And
yes,
and how that can change someone's whole outlook on life, and
definitely
that internal locus of control rather than external forces controlling everything that you think about and do.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just leave with another thought. When you're not okay and you needing to change, bit touching down what Adam asked, remember it's okay to say to yourself, you know what, these feelings have served their purpose. Okay, and I'm grateful that you served your purpose in the moments that I needed you, but I need to let you go. Just saying that is very powerful, and that helps release the anxiety, because you're telling your brain it's okay that you feel like this. There's nothing wrong with it.
It's the acknowledgement, right? Like the acknowledgement that
yeah, giving yourself permission.
Valid part of you that you just don't need right now. Like,
exactly.
Not that it's not important. It's just that it's not needed right now, or it's not useful right now.
Exactly. And we all need to have that element of fear. We need to have certain things in our life because it keeps us safe from danger. Okay. It's when it starts taking over and there's an imbalance, and it's like, okay, I need to look at this, whatever it may be. Yeah. I need to have a look at this, what's happening. So yeah, Adam, that was a very long answer to your question.
So we want to give you a chance to kind of advertise yourself on this podcast. If anyone wants to work with you, reach out to you, get help from you, like your specialist help as well. Like anyone's suffering really bad with trauma or anything, Kharina's your go-to person.
Thank you. Yeah, so just reach out to me. I think you put the link and stuff. I've got a very calm temperament. That's the thing. That's a bit different from one, but you will walk away feeling empowered. But what's really important is the trauma will be released, not just released for good. And I can say for good because that's how the brain works when you rewire it. That's why I'm comfortable saying that. You can never say something's 100%. I never say that, but we can remove those particular things that you come and say, actually, this, and this is affecting me. We will remove it. Okay. So you become desensitized. So when that thing comes up or someone says this or that to you, you don't have that emotional connection to it. You're like, okay, it makes me feel uneasy, but I'm all right. I'm good, So yeah, so just reach out. Definitely subscribe to these guys as well. I Make Me Stronger movement. it's something on Facebook. Request to join it. That's my community. We're all one community at the end of the day. We should all be in each other's stuff, right? Because you learn new things every day, right? So yeah, I think you'll put the link for the website and stuff. But yeah, just reach out, just have a chat. It doesn't mean you need to do full-blown coaching. Just have a chat with me. Yeah, it might be something little that we could just have a chat and release, you know?
Yeah. And thank you so much for coming on. And it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you and learning about what you do in more detail. And yeah, we'd love to have you on again at some point, maybe in a few months' time, and we'll talk some more.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Thank
let's
you.
draw on that courage,
Build up that confidence.
and let's get back your raw. Thank you very much.
I had to do that. See you
Have a
later.
great night. Thank you.